If you have spent any time playing games, I am sure you have at the very least heard of or seen Shenmue. Released in 1999 for the Dreamcast, the game follows the story of Ryo Hazuki, a young man seeking revenge for the murder of his father. While the plot doesn't sound like anything to write home about, the game's unique approach to telling it sets it apart from others. To explain this, let me give you an example. At the very start of the game, your father is murdered by a mysterious man you only know as Lan Di. He was accompanied by men in black suits and they drove a black car. So what's next? Do we follow an objective marker, watch a few cutscenes and then start the next stage? No, you have to find out what's next by yourself. So you head out, ask some locals if they saw anything on that day, and clues lead you to find out that they were Chinese. So you ask the local Chinese population for info, which leads to further clues, and so on. Now, I would be naive to say this is a game that everyone will enjoy. It is an incredibly slow burn, but one that rewards your efforts and exploration with its small yet rich open world. In between plot points, there are a wealth of side activities to partake in, from arcade games, slot machines, etc. Sound familiar yet? Shenmue released to a fairly lukewarm response due to multiple factors, such as its incredibly high budget and the low sales of the Dreamcast. Despite the underwhelming release, it went on to get a sequel in 2001 for both the Xbox and Dreamcast. This had even more dismal sales figures, selling barely a fraction of its predecessor. If this wasn't painful enough, the game ends on a huge cliffhanger, one that concludes with the gut-wrenching words, "The story goes on." The series gained a very devoted following over the years, and that is all from the franchise. I promise. So Shenmue remains in limbo, its future looking bleak and uncertain. It seems doomed to obscurity, despite high demand and campaigning, including, but not limited to, monthly so-called tweetathons, a tongue-in-cheek campaign on the BBC show Video Gaiden, and numerous pleas to Sega to continue the story. Then, in 2005, something called Project J was announced by Sega. Shenmue 3? More details are released, and we find out it is a PS2 title produced by this man, Toshihiro Nagoshi. He initially worked as a supervisor on Shenmue, but was largely disappointed by the overwhelming workload and direction it took. This led to him requesting his own development division, Amusement Vision. So what really was this Project J? That would be Yakuza, a gritty narrative crime game following the story of Kazuma Kiryu. For those unfamiliar, this game takes place in the fictional Tokyo district of Kamurocho, a small yet detailed open world with a wealth of activities available. The gameplay goes between cutscene and dialogue to free roaming and combat. While not exactly the same as Shenmue, it is undeniable that it shares the same DNA. Critics at the time agreed by drawing comparisons between the two, one of which called the game the quote-unquote adult-themed spiritual successor. The two games are absolutely related, and is it any wonder why, given Nagoshi's history with Shenmue? Yu Suzuki, the man behind Shenmue, took a liking to Nagoshi, and towards the end of development, he was brought back in as both producer and director. Why? Because reportedly, he was the only person Suzuki trusted to fulfill his vision. Now, the Yakuza series went on to become wildly successful. Nagoshi has been quoted as saying, "There is no developer he learned more from than Yu Suzuki." So where does this leave us? Yakuza has gone on to become an incredibly rich franchise, spawning numerous entries, spin-offs, and even a TV show. But what about Shenmue? Did the story ever continue? Well, the community soldiered on with their campaign. Then in 2015, something miraculous happened. During Sony's E3 press conference, this was shown. There it was. After 14 years of hard work, speculation, and ungodly amounts of hopium, it finally worked. A Kickstarter for the third game was launched. This, alongside funds from Sony and Deep Silver, helped make the game a reality. After a fairly long development cycle, the game finally released in 2019 on PlayStation and PC. Exact sales figures are not known, but Deep Silver said the game had been fine financially. Your guess is as good as mine on that one. Now, this is quite a divisive entry amongst the fan base. Some praised its unapologetically old-school design, allowing for a smooth transition, one that essentially ignores the time gap in terms of development, while others criticised the game for being disappointing, given the wealth of opportunities available. But love it or hate it, the fact remains that it is a miracle it even happened. Now, despite this monumental release, we're still not done. Shenmue 3 progressed the story a tiny bit, but nowhere near enough for a satisfying conclusion. It has been stated that Suzuki put the story at 16 supposed chapters, with games 1 through 3 only reaching chapter 6. He has since supposedly scaled back to 11 chapters total, but the exact figures are quite vague. Needless to say, there is still a lot left to cover. Even after all of this, fans are still campaigning for a fourth entry. Despite the somewhat middle-of-the-road reaction to 3, there is still a demand for 4 and beyond if necessary. This could be seen with the recent supposedly leaked trailer. In December 2025, a 4-minute video purporting to be Shenmue 4 was released online. It showed a wealth of seemingly new content and stirred a large amount of conversation and excitement within the community. Unfortunately, it turned out to be nothing more than a hoax made with AI. And as frustrating as this is, it does show the demand is very much alive and well. So, can lightning strike twice? I sure hope so. I would love to know your experiences with either franchise. Both hold a very special place for me, and I would absolutely love to see Shenmue get the conclusion it deserves. So please, let me know in the comments your thoughts on this topic. If you're interested in this sort of content, please be sure to subscribe. Thank you.